All right, let's get all these machines moving. Okay, everybody. I got the most coveted spot, the after lunch spot where everybody's digesting, so it's going to be
we're all super engaged, man.
Yeah. You're going to be a tough one today, aren't you, Frederick? I like you. Well, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Building and Coaching a Non-Salesy Sales Team. Woo! All right, unexpected, but I'm super down with that. All right, so first thing I want you to do is imagine that you're me. You are a software salesman at a successful venture-backed startup in New York City. You've come up as an SDR, grinding on the phones, selling deals, and you're just coming off your best quarter. You sold the biggest deal of the quarter, which was a 4 business line deal with Gartner. 4 places all over the world. Big deal, the biggest of my career at the time. I'm super excited about it. I come in, have a good week, and then I look at my email on Sunday, and on Sunday, I have a strange Monday morning meeting on my calendar. I started to get a little suspicious. No context, no email about it. And I was like, all right, I think I know what's happening. So I walk into the office. I get to my 10 a.m. meeting. And I checked with some other sales guys. They also have a meeting. We've had a lot of management changes in between this time. And sure enough, the HR lady walks in, and I know I'm getting caught. It's like, okay, here we go. So we have this conversation. And in case you're wondering what it's like to get fired on a Monday, you get the whole rest of the week to be very sad about it. It's really, really perfect. So the HR lady escorts me to my desk to put my things back, pack up everything, put my favorite cup that says Drake's Tears back in the kitchen. And then they start walking me out, and I see one of the founders. And I was like, hey, man, it's been fun, been real, thanks. He just blows me off. And I was like, all right, hard job. Let's figure out what's next. They turn off my company email. And about 10 minutes as I'm walking to the train in New York City to get back to my house, my email goes off, and it's my personal email. And I get an email from that exact same founder. And it reads, I just realized I brushed past you on the way out. I spilled coffee all over myself right before, so I was not particularly present. Sorry about that. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I know you got the short end of the stick a lot here with respect to territory, vertical, and management. Too little, too late for sure, but apologies nonetheless. I hope your experience here was generally good outside of that. I think with the right support, you can and will be an excellent seller should you choose to continue in that capacity. In any case, good luck with whatever comes next. I'm happy to be a reference should you need one. Now, this was a really tough gig when I started it, and I had these things where I thought I was projecting like, man, why is this so hard? Why am I not getting support? So getting this email felt pretty good in a way because it's like, oh, I wasn't making this up. There was actually no support. Oh, cool. Like, nice. But obviously, this guy probably has a bunch of plants in his house he doesn't water, and obviously I was a plant in this instance. But I'm resilient, so I continued on. And why I share this with you is this guy has raised multi-million dollars, has a whole bunch of people employed, and knew that things were not well managed and chose to do nothing about it. Do not be a founder like that. That's what we're going to talk through today. So you're in the right place. If you want to hire sales talent without getting sold a bill of goods, you want talented people that want to work hard, that are the right fit for you. The next thing here, you want to create a sales process that aligns with your values. You built a business. It's a very difficult thing. You want people that represent who you are and what you sell well, right? And then next, you want to coach awesome reps that want to stay with your companies, right? You go do all this stuff to hire good people, and you just want to make sure that they're going to do what they said they're going to do together. Excuse me. So that's why today we're going to cover the right time to build a sales team, because I know most people don't like sales. They want to get rid of it as fast as possible. Some of the things we talk about today may help you in that regard, but most people aren't ready for it, and I'll discuss why. The next thing, we're going to talk about how to hire the right people for your company in sales or other roles. The frameworks will work well. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to coach non-salesy reps, because salesy things are not fun. They're gross. Okay? So just think about which one of these resonates the most with you, and we'll cover more on that when we get to Q&A. Is that good with everybody? Amazing. All right. So jumping into it. So who am I? I'm Steven Steers. I'm a native of New York City. I am a sales consultant by trade, and I created something called context selling, which is coaching specifically on sales calls. It's one of the key places in your company where you are having someone represent you, and it's a very quick indicator of the health of your business, because your sales cycles may be too long. You may be not closing as many deals, and that's a really good indicator. So I build a framework around that. We can discuss if you have questions, but that's what I do. I've led workshops for more than 600 companies from 28 countries, including Google, Nike, HEC Paris, EO, and a whole bunch of others. And I'm extremely blessed to do this work. And I do this work because I didn't have the support that I now offer, because I didn't like that it didn't exist. Next thing, I'm an author. My first book comes out a little bit later this year. So if you are an author or have suggestions, come holler at me. I'd love to learn how to be better at my first book. I'm a stand-up comedian sometimes, so I like to tell jokes, and I have a strong threshold for pain, so sales is perfect for me. Next thing, I was in a Beyonce music video. So you'll see here, that's Beyonce, and you look for the top right corner, you'll see some hair, and that's me right over there. So if everyone gets 15 minutes of fame, I still have 14 minutes and 59 seconds left, so shout out to me for that. All right, so let's jump into the meat of it. Let's go back. Okay, when's the right time to hire for sales? So what I'm gonna share is a framework that I learned on a way to think about it. This is not hard and fast, meaning like there's no exceptions. We'll discuss the exceptions, but here's how you should be thinking about it based on your revenue level. So let's start here. The first level is 0 to 300K. I'm sorry to let you know, you are the only person who should be selling when your business is at this level. Everything you should be outsourcing should be to help you do more sales. Get rid of all the admin, all the bookkeeping, all the messy stuff, and get to selling. That's your main priority. The next stage is 300K to $1 million. This is where you're going to start hiring SDRs and customer success managers to take part of that sales process away from you. Fulfillment and finding meetings, but you're the one who's still selling. You're just starting to part and parcel the process out. The next,
what does SDR stand for?
Sales Development Representative. Your appointment setters, people who qualify meetings, and then pass you qualified meetings for you to close. CSM is Customer Success Manager, so fulfillment on the backside. Also referred to as BDRs, Business Development Reps in some cases. Next stage is 1 million to 3 million, and this is ARR, and this is when you start hiring AEs and you don't touch the sales process, but you do still manage the sales people. So you gotta be clear on that. Account executives. Sorry for the acronyms, all this businessness. Yeah, stop me anytime. Yes. And the slides will be available by a QR code at the end. So if you like pictures on your phone or slides, whatever you want, it's up to you. Feel free. I like the feeling of pictures though. It feels good. My comedian self. 3 million and above is when you start really thinking about a VP of sales, someone who owns the entire funnel from tip to tail, and then you manage that person with the appropriate KPIs and metrics that are important to you. Now, let's talk about exceptions, okay? When is it right time to hire? First and most important thing, is your playbook documented? You don't need a sexy document that's really highly designed unless that's something you want, but I need to be able to know and see that you have a clear process from first contact to signed contract. If you don't have that, you probably do. You can organize it from emails or correspondence you've had with people, but get that organized because that's what your process is and that's what you're gonna be able to give to someone to work on. The next thing that's really important, you need to have done this at least 10 times, okay? It might not sound crazy, it might sound crazy for some, but if you've done it 10 times, you can say within a margin of error what it looks like, how long it takes, what it feels like, and what the pain points are that are appropriate inside of a deal. And if you have all 10 of those recorded and categorized, that can become something you can train somebody on to work specifically for the customers that you serve, okay? Next thing, are your calls recorded? I'm a huge stickler for recording calls. The key part of this is you're missing a great training opportunity for yourself because all of us suck at things sometimes and we want to hear where we messed up. And then when you have a rep, you can pass them a call to say, here's how we sound on the phone with our customers. This is the tones we used. This is how we handle objections, etc. Be prepared and capture this information so you don't have to go looking for it when you really want to hire someone. And then the next thing here, are you overloaded with leads? So I know some companies that are below the million threshold that are just crushing it with leads and they can't keep up with the volume. That may make sense for you to have a salesperson in an instance like that because you want to get that revenue into the door. So those are some exceptions. Happy to talk about more. But again, these are the general ways to think about it and make sure you're ready for hiring. Because if you hire people too fast, kind of like the company that I mentioned before, you're not setting people up for the right type of success. Questions or comments?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So with sales calls recorded, I mean, how do you deal with the legality of it?
I love this question.
Yeah.
So the first thing is obviously pay attention to things in your state. Whenever I get on, I usually do phone calls on Zoom. I click record. If anybody's like, oh, I don't want this recorded, I say, hey, it's not going anywhere. I'll send you a copy. And this is just so we can have a conversation and so I can make the appropriate follow-up should we choose to go forward on anything. And if somebody says no to that, that's a huge red flag because they're not following your process for selling. They're just telling you how they want to buy stuff. And that's usually an indicator of someone who will not be a good client for you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're talking about clients right now, not internal team members.
I'm talking about clients.
I'm
Yeah,
more worried
100%.
about recording the people on the other end of the phone.
What do you mean?
But I'm not worried about recording my internal team.
No, I'm talking about sales calls, like prospects, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you just let them know that, hey,
Yeah.
we're recording.
I usually have it recording when they're on the call. They'll get a notification. I've almost never had somebody click out. And if they have that, that's the explanation I give. And 95% of people agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
Bunty.
does it automatically now.
Yeah.
I just have
It can, yeah.
setting, and it just, when you join the meeting, it just prompts it saying like,
Yes.
this is going to be a recorded call, so I don't even say anything.
Yeah, we don't use
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
What do you use?
We're phone calls.
Your phone calls. There are, I
No,
mean,
we can figure it out.
but whatever way you method you do, I typically use Zoom. It's just easy. You can see people, you can give us some energy. But that is, whatever way you do it, that is an essential part of you being able to get yourself out of sales at some point soon, which is what we're building in the first place. Other questions? All right. Next thing here. So how to hire the right people. This is one of the most difficult things for most companies, and sales can be one of these things as well. So let's talk about it. Where do you start? Okay, one of the first places is your network. Are there salespeople who you know, who are on LinkedIn, or people you've messed with before who might be a good fit for what you do? There's a lot of layoffs happening now. I don't know if you've seen that. So there's a lot of good talent that may be looking for something more interesting, more remote, or otherwise. So keep your eyes peeled for good candidates that may have been moving around into positions. The second one, this is a little shady, but I'll share it with you. So I've been a rep for a number of different companies, and I would probably say at least once a week, I get someone offering me a job. I think I'm pretty decent at what I do, but again, it's all fair in love and war. If you have a great rep who you work with, who understands your problems, asks good questions, and makes you feel very comfortable to make a buying decision, why not ask them if they want a job? It's someone you know already and you've built some level of trust with. And quite frankly, that's the easiest way to find good talent without having to hunt, because good people are very hard to find and they're not looking most of the time. So that's one of the fastest ways you can get really, really good people into your organization. Next, this is a big stickler for me. What are you hiring for? So I've worked a number of jobs where they're like, oh, you're gonna be our sales rep. And it's like, okay, and then I get into the role. All right, who's our ideal customer? Oh, we're not sure. Okay, why have people bought in the past before? Oh, I don't know. What type of scripts or things are you using to qualify people? I don't know, we just wing it, man. And it's like, okay, and that's fine. Some companies, that's okay. But you have to set that expectation for the person who's coming into your company, because you want sales. I want to get you sales. I want to get paid too. But you don't know who we're going after. So that means I have to build that. And you're not going to get sales if I have to go build that and figure it out. So does anybody know the difference between business development and sales? What do you got?
Business development does the almost like cold calling, setting appointments. They're the ones doing the groundwork for the salesperson.
Yes, and. How about you?
Strategic partnerships with biz dev.
Biz dev is strategic, so it's figuring out what you have to sell, who it works with, and how to commercialize that. It's way more up level and strategic. It's a lot of figuring stuff out. Sales is a system and a process that is documented that you can hire someone in to work on. It's clear. So if you don't have a system and you're hiring a salesperson, you're setting people up to just kind of figure out their own pathway. And this isn't a Montessori school. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't choose your own pathway, because your own pathway could just be going sideways the whole time. So be very, very clear about what that is. And then what level are you looking for? So if you want to do BD and more strategic work, you probably want someone who's got a more storied career in building those types of things. I don't agree with the whole Rolodex situation necessarily, but you want someone who knows how to get conversations started, put things out to people, and get people to bring things back. If it's sales, it's like junior level, you hire them into a process and you train them, and they can go off and run based on how you've documented it. Does that make sense? All right, keep it moving. Next thing, really important, job descriptions. If you're hiring people, there's some folks that you should talk to, like Noel's incredible at doing this. Noel Andrews, if you don't know him from JobRec, they hire a lot of different roles, and sales is one of them. Be really specific on your job tasks. Like I said, am I going to be discovering who the client is, figuring out the right questions to ask, building scripts, qualifying, hiring people? Let me know what the hell I'm doing so I do the right thing and we agree on that and there's no strangeness that happens. The next, use impact job descriptions. And what I mean by that is set expectations. By the end of month one, you should be at this place. By the end of month 3, we should be here. By the end of month 6, we should be here. Talk about the KPIs or the general pathway for success inside of the role so the person reading it can qualify themselves the hell out if they're not willing to address what that looks like. So be very, very clear on that. The next thing is include as much detail about your company and leverage video where you can. You want to show up as the founder that you are, that people can resonate with, and qualify people away from the business who are not just, you don't want people who just click and apply to a bunch of shit. You want people who are like, I want to be here. And the clearer you are about what that looks like, the better quality candidates you're going to potentially get in your pool. Make sense? All right, let's keep it moving. Now, the sales hiring funnel. The first thing I usually do if I'm hiring for any role is I do a review. So in my job description, I put an Easter egg. So I usually make a video, and at the end I'll say, if you've watched all the way to the end of this video, include the word purple in all caps at the top of your application. So when I get my applications, if I don't see the word purple, it's trash, it's trash, it's trash. You don't follow directions, you're out. Make it easy for yourself to sort candidates. The next side, if you find good people within that pool of candidates, do a 10-minute call, okay? Don't schedule an interview. Just say, hey, I liked your application. Can we hop on a quick 10-minute phone call? Really informal. Just call them up on the phone. Don't do Zoom. And what we're going to do is talk about what those questions are that you ask and why a 10-minute phone call is important. Keep it extremely tight and fast moving. Remember, the whole point of this is to qualify people out. Okay? If you've ever been on a date, you know, like in a minute or two, like, do I want to spend more time with this person? And that's really the only thing we're looking for on this call. Definitely don't go over 10 minutes. And again, like in 2 minutes, you're going to know if this is somebody you want to talk to. Remember, we're qualifying them out of the process. We don't want people who don't make sense in the business. And here are the 5 questions to ask. How's your day going? Does anybody know why this is a really important question to ask? See how positive they are, right? This is the first line of your business. They're going to represent you and all the hard work you've done. If they don't have a positive attitude, even if things aren't going well, it's a red flag. Cut that out. If someone's like, oh man, today sucks, man. It's a really hard day. Dude. Bye. Like, not good, right? Have someone who's very positive or stoic, upbeat, and direct. That's a good representation of whatever your values are. Make sure to check for that. Next one. What's the number one reason they applied for the position? Did they meet you at a conference? Did they read your book? Heard you on a podcast? They love your mission. What is it? Get them to tell you why you versus somebody else. Be clear about that. That'll give you a lot of clarity on what this person wants from working with you. What's their superpower? Are they great with people? Are they incredible at prospecting? Do they have a case study for some work that they've done? Like, oh, I'm really, really good at this. And to get them excited about something that they are and like. That'll give you a clear picture of if they're a cultural fit for you in one question. The next thing, why are they looking to make a change? If they're like, oh man, my manager was super toxic, bro. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, I need to get somewhere else. And that may be true that the manager is toxic, but you want people who take accountability and you want them to demonstrate that. So it's like, yeah, my job is, I'm looking for a new challenge. I want something that better suits my values. And based on looking at your website and studying what I know about your company, I think this might be a potentially good fit for what I want to do next. Have a clear answer that resonates with those values and ask that question. The next, is there anything they want to share with you about themselves? Are they getting divorced? Are there other stressful factors in their life that may make you something that they're just reaching for or just looking to have options? We don't want to hire people who want just options. We want to hire people who want to work with us. So if you ask these 5 questions in less than 10 minutes, you have a very clear picture of, hey, you know what? I want to learn more about this person. And then we would book in a subsequent call. Make sense?
What are you looking for in question 5?
Looking for in question 5, just kind of get their gauge on personality traits, how they talk about themselves. It's just kind of just see how they flow with you. Oh, here's what I do. On the weekends, I love to go hiking. I'm building my own car. Like, what gets them excited about things? And then what we can do with that is leverage that to see how they get excited talk about what we do for other people. Yeah.
During this process, the 10-minute call, do you give them a chance to ask you anything, or do you save that for an interview?
I would save it for an interview. Like, just make it super quick. If they do ask questions, you can kind of feel that out.
Yeah.
But just be like, hey, just really light structure. Just want to ask a couple really quick questions, and then you just go for it. Cool. You're in control.
And you do this as the owner. Like, if you have a team manager or whatever, you still think that this is your role as the founder?
If you do have a team manager who does your hiring, this is a pretty good way to do it as well. It's up to you.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Yeah.
You said that you do this call on the phone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why? What's the reason
because it's a little bit more detached and it's informal. So Zoom is like, oh, scheduled, send a calendar invite, versus emails like, hey, can I call you at like 3:30? Really light and easy. And you want to also see how nimble they are and responsive to things, which is another subcontext test for how they'll respond if customers are like, oh, hey, I'm ready to run. I'll get you a contract fast. You want to see how they move. It's another subconscious test. Other questions?
Do you have one question?
Yeah.
For the first one, like culturally, have you, like, I'm from Germany.
Okay.
So this is not.
You don't ask.
I'm not sure.
How's your day going?
I'm not sure on this question.
How's your day going?
Don't ask him that.
Yeah, because
Tell me more about that. Why's that?
Don't
Oh, you'd be very direct.
Since you asked.
Oh, they'll tell you everything?
I'm not sure, like a German salesperson, if that's actually, like, American culture and German culture might be different. So I'm not sure.
That's a very fair thing. Adjust for your culture. If it's not appropriate, don't use it. But I say we should think about a way to test their positivity. So maybe you ask something about, like, what are they excited about? But Germans are so, yeah, I've lived in Germany. I'm like, oh, damn it. I forget who I'm talking to. I'm an excited German. Wow, that was awesome. Yeah.
Germany sounds like a fun place.
Sounds like a fun place.
Just don't hire German.
Well, we can talk after this to find an equivalent type of question. But again, the main point of this is to test for how they react with positivity and how they might represent your business. If you have a droll sales process, then hell yeah, like make it work for you. But that's the general framework I would recommend. Cool? All right, on to the next. If they've passed the 10-minute conversation and you're ready to schedule an interview, I highly recommend doing a behavioral assessment. The ones I've used are called zero risk assessments. I don't get paid for this at all, but they're really good for the following reasons. You get a actual account of kind of how they are with their personality, how they're managed, how they like to be managed, and then you also get specific questions to ask based on the role that you're hiring for that will help you know if they're a cultural fit for you. So it does this all printed out. So you'll get this, and then you'll come to the interview with better questions to ask and to qualify the person in based on their behavioral assessment. Okay? Highly recommend leveraging those. Next, if they pass all that and the interview's all good, go for a paid project. So I know the gentleman up on stage was like, hey, you just hire full-time for sales. I completely disagree. You don't want to do that because you don't know if they work well for you. Give them a small paid project to test for a specific part of the funnel or whatever you want to hire them for. And what I also recommend is hire 2 people. The reason for that is you want it to kind of feel a little bit competitive, some camaraderie. There's a job on the other side of this. And if they both work out, then you have 2 people who are here crushing it. And you want that person to feel a little bit of urgency about working towards having the job that they're hunting for. Yes?
You let them know that there's 2 folks in one position?
Yeah, so we're hiring multiple people for this role. We're interviewing candidates. I want to give you a paid project. If you do really well in this, there's a job for you. Yes?
So say there's, we're talking about a sales rep who's going to be doing cold calls on like Zoom. What could be an example of a paid project if he really needs to be trained before he's facing the customer.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like, yeah.
So let's go to the next slide. You're ahead of me. I like it. All right. So some examples. If they're doing, yeah, you got it. Of course. I thought about this. So you build some examples. Build a list of ICP. Like find these companies based on these roles, what you know about our company. Let's see what list you would build. Here's a quick example. Create an email sequence or messaging sequence, or how would you respond to this type of objection based on our product? Damn, these acronyms. I'm sorry about this, y'all. Ideal client profile. So who you specifically sell to and offer value when you sell. And so for you, mock calls. Have colleagues or people inside of your company, have them call and see how they would sell your product to somebody inside of your company. And if you can, record this, okay? Record this. That way you know how their tone is, how their personality is, and would you pick up if someone like this called you? Get clear on that. Yes?
Yeah, so currently in our process, mock calls are part of the recruitment process.
Okay.
So
what's your business?
We don't, online e-learning project, basically.
Okay.
An e-learning company. So mock calls is like the last test that they would do. So would you, and yeah, we obviously don't pay for that because they do, it's just kind of an interview, right? It's
Okay.
an interview conducted in the form of a mock call.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just like pros and cons.
Let's talk after, because yours is more specific.
Sure.
But I'm happy to talk about that with you to unpack. Yes.
Struggling with the paid project, it's one of my biggest questions is how to do a paid project for
Okay.
a sales role without them knowing any of the terminology specific to my industry. Like I just can't.
Do you have it documented?
Yeah, but it's going to take a little bit.
Okay,
Like
so-
it's not something that I could expect somebody in Latin America to get off a document. Without,
Okay, so-
because it's difficult. Like one of my issues is people have been trained in customer service or something, and it's just literally not what we do.
Okay, so an example would be, if it's customer service as an example, you've probably had some people flare up and be mad about something at some point. Create a scenario and have them craft the responses that they would make, what action steps they would take, and create a resolution profile for this particular type of situation and give them 2 or 3 and see how they do it. That's what I would do for customer service. Maybe not calls necessarily, or you could say, here's a scenario, hop on with X from our team on this date to resolve this issue, and let's see what it looks like. And that could be their paid project.
Cool.
Got it?
Can I ask one other quick thing about
Please
hiring
do.
2 people? at
Go
the
for it.
same
Yeah,
time?
yeah, yeah.
So I guess my resistance to that, we've considered that, but accounting for people's different learning styles, some people want to break things, some people want to kind of figure things out, and both types can work.
Sure.
Is my experience. So what if somebody's holding somebody back? I mean, are you running through SOPs at the beginning and training them both at the same time? Because for me, I can't handle doing it separately, so it would have to be together.
Yeah, you would bring them both together.
Yeah.
Yeah, just schedule both
What
things.
happens if somebody, I mean, I guess the obvious answer is if somebody's really dragging, then you let them go.
Yeah.
But how do you account for the different types of personality styles there?
Well, again, that's why we want to set that funnel up to test for those things as earlier.
Right, okay.
So we do the behavioral assessment. You're going to get clear on like, oh, like I like to sit with stuff and like kind of think it through for a week or 2 and then I'll get back to it. It's like, not saying there's anything wrong with that, but does that work with your company profile and what you need? So again, with everything in every funnel, qualification or otherwise, we want to create steps that qualify people out earlier than us having to say, oh, you're hired. And it's like, oh man, I didn't see that coming. And then we're really screwed.
Thank you.
You got it. Other questions? All right. Now, how to coach non-salesy reps. Who feels that salesiness is gross? I'm surprised not every, you like salesiness? You're like, oh, sometimes I really like it. Tell me more about that. Why is that? Oh, you're playing it.
Sneeze, man.
That's fitting.
It's on brand, definitely. All right. Onboarding is where coaching starts. So my first day in sales, I got in and they threw me a list of companies and they said, get meetings. That's it. Like, who do I call? It's like, well, like we sell this type of stuff, figure out who wants it. What script do I use? You make one of your own. And luckily, like I was hungry for it at the time, so I was like, all right, I'll figure this out. But what a terrible way to welcome someone into your company. I have to figure all of this out. Like, I'm building your business and I'm putting time and energy into your business. At least make it easier for me to get us to the result that we want. Like, set me up for success, set our relationship up for success. Because here's the other thing. In the story I told you in the beginning with that founder, you have to think, when you run a business, someone's trusting you with their professional career, right? You are a steward of what happens for them. They're giving you time, blood, sweat, and they could be doing something else. And hopefully it works out, but you have to rig the game so that you win at bringing the right people into your business. So onboarding is an incredibly important part. So as an example, give them a new t-shirt, send them a lunch, mugs, microphones, whatever that thing is. Create a state change in, oh, you didn't work for the company and now you work for the company. Maybe go and spend some days with them wherever they are as you're hiring. Make them feel like a member of your team and you're working on something together. The next thing here, a training program. So as we talked about in the beginning of things, document your process from first contact to signed contract and create that as kind of a course for onboarding your sales rep or any role, really, actually. Create that course and walk them through that course and then shadow them on those things. Work through this. Take a look at this, and based on the ramp-up schedule we decide, here's what we should be doing by the end of this. And then you're going to start to notice gaps, if there are places for gaps that you can coach and train on to fill. Okay? Next thing here, stand-ups, retros, and call reviews. So there's a couple different ways you can do sales stand-ups. You can have an actual call where you have everyone run down things. You could do those daily, probably at least weekly. Some companies I've worked with, we have a Slack channel where we input the top 3 priorities, and then we would have a meeting at some point in the week to discuss what those are, where you need help, etc. And then retros, have some meeting at the end of the week where you're